AskReddit. What's the dumbest dare you ever went through with that left lasting physical, mental or emotional problems? In elementary school, during a recess, someone found a dead frog on one of the cement blocks by the gutter drains. It was covered in ants and sort of tacky dry from the heat of the sun. Naturally, a kid dared anyone to eat the damn thing for $1. I was stupid enough to take him up on that. Somehow, against odds, I didn't get sick, but quite a few people called me Kermit for a while. When I was 15, dared to jump off a moving car, broke front 2 teeth in half, had to get emergency dental care. To this day, I'm forbidden from biting an apple or any similar fruit hard. Edit, cosmetically, the teeth looks as good as real, and are reasonably strong with the crowns on them. This is just a precaution suggested by the dentist. When I was in school we went on a field trip to France for a week. I was in my early teens at the time and fancied the hell out of a girl, and I think she fancied me as well. I'll let a friend in on that knowledge. So we play truth or dare one night. My friend gets to dare the girl I like. I think yes, he will dare her to kiss me. What does he do? He dares her to stick a finger up my asshole. Killed the romance right on the spot, to say the least. I was dared to chase after a ball in a lake, decided I was Superman, and could dive in. Hit my head on a rock, damaged my spinal cord. Now I'm paralyzed from the chest down. Drink a case, 20 bottles, of Desperados for $10 and get a free case of Desperados. For those who don't know, it's beer flavored with tequila. I will never forget that night. I puked so ducking much, and finally fell asleep and stinging nettles. Before that I puked in my tent, pissed my pants, threw my MP3 player in the river, and tried to walk over a campfire. To this day I feel sick whenever I smell tequila. Would not recommend. Edit. Yes, I know it's not tequila in it. Yes, I know it's 24 bottles a case. Yes, I know it's 330 milliliters per bottle. Still roughly 8 liters of that piss. That's like 16 beers. Some people I've told that story to try to play it down. That's not much. It's not even tequila in it, etc. But every time I told them, come on, I will buy a case and you will drink it, just for fun, they all back down. I wonder why that is. In high school, one of my friends dared me to ask our male professor whether he was on his period. He offered me $20, and another friend threw in another $10. $30 is $30, so I creeped in quietly and asked him politely if the reason he was being a little irritable that morning and lashing out more than usual was because he was on his period. He looked at me, and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and I looked at him. Perfect unbroken eye contact, neither of us moving a muscle. Not a word was spoken for about 20 seconds. Then, he just said, I guess you might think that's funny, but there's a lot of people that really wouldn't at all. I said okay, walked out of the room, grabbed my $30 and bolted. Have never been so embarrassed in my life as when I had to walk back into that room in a few minutes for the second half of class. He was my teacher for the next whole year in a different course. We never talked about it ever again. Make out with the ugly girl at a house party. Everyone was ducked up on ketamine. So pretty K-rocked, as they used to say. So I make my way over to this girl, who had no idea she was part of a dare, and swing her around romantic movie style over to me, and started making out with her. At some point soon thereafter, I noticed a pretty large solid object in my mouth. Stop kissing. Remove my tongue from her mouth and notice my mouth is filled with blood. I then spit out what looks like a tooth. Somehow her tooth came out during us making out. No words were exchanged, we both simply spit out the blood and I gave her tooth back, then made a beeline exit to the next room with my group of friends. In high school I was talking about how the nerves in my body are kind of messed up, so I can take a lot of pain. A guy in the class said it was bullshit, and he dared me to let him hit me with a baseball in the nuts. I said no to that, but he could hit me anywhere else except the face. So we go out in the hallway, and he winds up and throws a fastball. Found out later he was the school's star pitcher, and hits me square in the jewels. But like I said, I have bad nerves, so it hurt, but not too bad. So I didn't react, and looked at him, and said, is that it? He and his buddies looked at me shocked, and I walked away and went to the bathroom in the building next door. I pulled down my pants and saw the grapefruit-sized bruise forming, and later on that day I peed a little blood, but no lasting damage that wasn't already there. Edit. Whoever gave me gold, thank you. Dared to hold the dog leash in my mouth and let the dog drag me through the wet grass. There was too much slack in the line, and when the dog took off, it ripped my front 2 teeth out. I was coming out of a bar and was very intoxicated. I dared the valet guy to race me. I was pretty confident I was like the fastest person alive, and I had watched him run around all night fetching cars. Side note, I was in flip-flops, and this race was over a bunch of gravel. Well, ready, start, go. I take off. He just stands there laughing. I eat it hard after a few strides. Fall on the gravel, slice my toe completely open, and have road rash on my hands and face. He stopped laughing when I stood up, bawling my eyes out. I was dared to jump off the roof of a 2-story pavilion, holding an umbrella. The thought process was that it would serve as a cartoon-style parachute. Well, I jumped. The umbrella immediately inverted and flew out of my hand. I landed on my feet, but they immediately slipped out from under me, and I landed hard on my tailbone. The umbrella came down and bashed me on my head. I bruised my tailbone and my head that night. Luckily, the pain only lasted a few weeks. I was completely sober for this. I had to make out with my best friend's mom, and that still makes me shudder. You have to give more details than that. Nothing extravagant. You know, the cult for Rocky Horror Picture Show where you go to the theater and chat along with the songs and throw things and run around naked, etc. Well, I went to one for the first time with my friends, who were frequent goes, and when it's your first time you're classified as a virgin, and have to go to the stage and do something to lose your virginity. My friend's mom went with us, and it was her first time too, so she decided to participate in the festivities. Well, the MC chose us to be partners, and we had to share a Twizzler, the same way the Pocky Challenge worked. I don't like thinking about the rest, but we met halfway and made out, and my friends congratulated me, and now I can't look at my friend's mom the same way again. It's been 2 years. I had to walk into a company board meeting in full costume with a can of Chef Boyardee in one hand and a cap gun in the other. The CEO almost stroked out. The only time I've ever been fired. Edit. Cowboy with an old Japanese man mask. Dared to let my grade 7 crush kick me in the nuts at a party. I thought she'd think I was cool. I thought wrong. I was drunk and was given the option between a safety pin ear piercing or a bottle cap branding. I thought piercings looked dumb, so I opted for the much more permanent branding. Now I have to explain to my son why daddy has a huge, ugly circular scar on his chest. I don't know why the third option of neither never crossed my mind. I was dared to do a ski trick / maneuver which I wasn't well versed in or trained to do. I hit the jump and just trashed my body, including both thumbs fractured and not being able to walk without pain for about a month afterwards. This was in January, and I still have pain in my left pinky from it. When I was around 8, me and my brother were in our room sitting on our beds. I was standing on my bed, falling down back onto my bed similar to the trust fall and bouncing back up. My brother dared me to keep doing it, so being the dumbass that I did. It got to the point where he got bored and wanted to play catch. He told me stop, and I said, let me do it one more time. This is where I ducked up. I fell down, but instead of my head landing on the soft bed, it landed onto the hard windowsill. There was blood everywhere. I tried to hide it from my mom because I knew she'd get mad, but she saw me grab a tissue and immediately started yelling. When I say there was blood, I mean there was a lot of blood. She thought I might die and was thinking she could drive me to the hospital faster than waiting for an ambulance. By the time we get to the hospital, the bleeding wasn't so bad, but it was awkward being in a waiting room with a bunch of people while my head was bleeding. We finally get into a room and a doctor comes in, glues my head shut, and all is well. I still have an gnarly bald spot from it. Sucked on a 40-plus-year-old's nipple in front of her husband and 3 kids and the several other people playing truth or dare. She was not attractive at all. Now that I think about it, I think they were trying to start an orgy every time I was there. Back in high school, the cafeteria had a slushy machine. It had the normal spread of flavors and also a shocker flavor that was basically pure sour. You were responsible for mixing your own slushy, and if you wanted you could just fill your cup with nothing but flavoring and pay normal price. One friend did that with roughly half cherry and half shocker and kept it for later. So one night I'm hanging out at said friend's house and he dares me to drink the pure cherry/sour mixture, including sweetening the deal with $20. I was poor throughout high school, so naturally I agreed. What followed was several hours rolling around my friend's couch in agony as the acid mixture slowly worked its way through my digestive system. At 14 I walked into a police station and turned myself in for breaking the law of gravity. Police don't have a very good sense of humor. I spent 4 hours in the lockup with real criminals. I remember a big burly biker in there too, and people started to tell why they were there. Those other guys were there for things like assault, fighting, drunken behavior. I thought they'd find my story funny, but the biker told me I had better grow up or I was going to have a long miserable life full of bad decisions. I took it to heart and grew up a little. Mine isn't that bad, but in secondary school, high school for Americans, I got dared to get an inhaler and press it 50 times on my hand. It froze a rectangle shape on my hand, and for hours it was legit frozen. I still have a scar on my hand from it. It was me who dared my friend in high school to wear matching dresses during a play. We played female twins who had to speak at the same time, but he's a guy, so it was going to be super funny. He agreed, the drama teacher agreed, and during the rehearsal everything was going fine. There was a scene where I had to jump into his arms and we would run backstage. The day we presented in front of the whole class, I jumped. He started walking and caught his feet in his dress, dropped me. I flew into a wall, got a pretty bad concussion, spent 6 hours in intensive care at the hospital. Still don't remember the rest of that day. My dad told me I was really confused for a week. For about a year I had short-term memory issues. I was 16, went to a new school in a different state, and was dared to go into some underground catacombs, trying to fit in and show off. I was told that I could use rope. I was deep underground when they cut the rope and left me. Luckily for me, after 3 days of being trapped down there, some local thrill seekers heard me screaming and crying and helped me out. Because of this I suffer severe trust issues, anxiety, depression, PTSD and other emotional trauma. Physically, I broke my arm when I fell down a small chasm, dehydration, and other lacerations. Hey man, that sounds like attempted murder. While camping with Boy Scouts, we were all lounging around waiting for our food to cook. One of us noticed that the handle on the pot jet turned blue with the heat, so he called to his friend, "Hey John, how about picking up that there blue handle?" Forgive the accent. Sure enough, he did. I'm a guy and got given the dare to go up to a random guy on a night out, put my arms around him and say I really want to kiss you. So I pick a guy who looks smaller than me and say my line. He looks petrified and then I slipped and headbutted him in the face. I still cringe. In 4th grade, I was dared to tell the nerdy unattractive girl in my class that I was in love with her in front of everyone. People made fun of me for a whole year. Rumors spread and the girl's parents ended up having a serious talk with my parents in fear that I might do something inappropriate to their beloved daughter, as if someone dared me to tell the truth and I'm still in utter shock from it. I was dared to prank call a guy one of my girlfriends had rejected on a date. I put on an accent and he thought I was a girl he really liked, but then after 5 minutes, his self-esteem kicked in and started saying how of course he gets pranked because no one would ever love him. I hung up and my friends thought it was hilarious. I called him back to tell him it was a dare and I'm sorry I wasn't the girl he thought I was. No longer speak to these friends as I didn't find humiliating someone funny. My best friend dared me to drink a small container of Dasani drops without other liquid. I knew it would be sour, but wanted to impress. I had previously done the cinnamon challenge and felt I was up for it. I wasn't. I can't think about pink lemonade without crying ha ha ha. A few months ago I was dared to chug 2/3 of a bottle of Captain Morgan pineapple rum. The shit was really syrupy and thick. Tasted like cheap pineapple candy. I did it. It took me about 30 seconds. I spent the last 2 hours of that party puking my guts out. And by that I mean the fish tacos and mozzarella sticks I had for dinner. The smell of flavored alcohol still makes me queasy, and that was 4 months ago. But hey, I can still drink rum, so I've got that going for me, which is nice. You have been visited by the great burb of capitalism. Many seed will come your way, but only if you comment, "Good job, Mr. Burb."